The firm's strategists drawing comparisons to the 2008 housing crash, predicting the cities will likely see noticeable increases before drastic decreases of more than 25%.
Fox's Lillian Wu, previously on home sales nationwide, dropped last year to the lowest level in a decade. Now for those who rent.
The Biden administration trying to, quote, increase fairness in the rental market and further principles of fair housing. The actions include the Federal Trade Commission for the first time issuing requests for information to identify practices that unfairly prevent people from getting housing so it can take enforcement and policy actions. It also includes requiring public housing and project-based rental properties to give at least 30 days notice before terminating a lease because of rent not being paid. At the White House, Ryan Schmelz, Fox News.
There's still no sign of actor Julian Sands, missing for now 12 days after going hiking on the highest peak of California's San Gabriel Mountains. Search crews did find another hiker, though, rescuing a 75-year-old who did not return from a hike in the same area on Sunday. He had a leg injury and some weather-related trauma, taken to a hospital. I'm Dave Anthony. This is Fox News.
It's time for WPTV's First Alert Weather from the WPTV News Channel 5 newsroom. Now with 7 meteorologists covering the Treasure and Gold Coasts 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now here's WPTV's First Alert meteorologist.
Highs will be in the low to mid-80s with partly sunny skies and breezy conditions. Winds out of the south gusting around 20 miles per hour. A cold front comes in early Thursday morning with spotty showers, then cooling down. Temperatures in the low 70s for Wednesday afternoon, but even colder as we head into Thursday night.
As for the 95th.
To the 40s and 50s. Highs on Friday will stay cool, only in the 60s. I'm WPTV First Alert meteorologist Jennifer Correa on WSTU AM 1450, Martin County's Heritage Station.
You are listening to WSTU, Stewart, Jensen Beach, Hope Sound, Martin County's Heritage Station.
It's time now for the Casey Ingram Show on WSTU. The opinions expressed are those of the program host and guest and not necessarily those of WSTU. WSTU does not endorse products that may be mentioned. Any reproduction or retransmission of this broadcast is strictly prohibited without written consent of WSTU. It's time to call in with your questions and comments at 220-9788, 220-WSTU. And now, here's Casey Ingram.
Welcome back. It's another beautiful Wednesday here on the Treasure Coast, and I have a double header on tap today. The first guest will be Dr. Millay, Superintendent of the Martin County School District, and in the second half hour, we'll be speaking with Chief Deputy John Budenseek. So great shows on tap. We're going to have a lot of good community information today. But before we get into that, let's thank my wonderful sponsors. First, Commercial Mortgage has been in the industry of small balance corporate finance since 2003. Their focus is on equity, new debt solutions, challenging corporate foreclosures, and debt restructures. Commercial Mortgage never charges a front fee or deposit, and consultations are always free. Areas of expertise include hotels, marinas, office buildings, restaurants, apartments, multifamily, condos, golf courses, home builders, land development, including new and repurposed developments. Call Commercial Mortgage today at 561-310-5295. That's 561-310-5295. Or visit them online, commercialmortgagellc.com. Also want to remind everybody, if you want to know who the special guest or guest will be in the studio, you can sign up for an email blast that I send out every week, and you can do that at my website, thecaseyingramshow.com. And don't forget about the best kept secret in Martin County. You can come by boat, car, or stroll the boardwalk to explore what the best kept secret has to offer. The boardwalk features local artists, an Airbnb, art gallery, boat charter, marina, and the Craft and Creamery, which features craft beers, wine, and 24 flavors of ice cream. Literally something for everybody. And with spring break coming around the corner, it's a great place to bring your friends that come from up north. You can rent bikes, you can rent paddle boards, and they have a marina there as well. This great place is the Fish House Art Center down in the Pocket in Port Salerno. You can look them up online, thefishhouseartcenter.com, or give them a call, 772-221-5482. That's 772-221-5482. And finally, don't forget about Indiantown Marina. It is one of South Florida's best boat storage facilities located inland on the Okeechobee Waterway. Very well protected hurricane, but it's also a do-it-yourself and full-service boat yard. So if you need any work done on your boat, and let's face it, if you have a boat, you need work done. It doesn't matter. Every boat owner knows that. And again, do it yourself. You can hire somebody to do that. And the good folks out at Indiantown Marina can help you out. Give them a call at 772-631-3272. 631-3272. So my first guest here this half hour is Dr. John Millay. And he's a repeat guest, but he was first hired. He was our first hire to appointed superintendent here in Martin County in 2020. After 5 times we went through the elections, beginning back in the 80s, trying to change it from elected to hired, and we did that. And in 2020, Dr. Millay, who's a father of 3, and all were educated in the public schools, which gives them a full understanding of the dreams and aspirations that all parents have for their children to have their very best possible education that also meets their unique needs and differences. Prior to his arrival in Martin County, Dr. Millay completed a very successful 27-year career in Kentucky public education, serving the last 14 years in a high-performing school superintendent. Dr. Millay remains passionate about student achievement, equity, and access, the professional growth and success of faculty and staff, and empowering families and the community to become full partners in the educational experience offered in the schools. In addition to its reputation for academic, instructional, and financial excellence, the level of community support and engagement are what drew Dr. Millay to the Martin County School District. As he participated in the interview process, Dr. Millay was impressed by the sense of pride in employees and community members shared for the district and the public education. Dr. Millay states he looks forward to continuing to meet and learn from each member of our community as we celebrate success and develop new goals for the future together. Dr. Millay, here it's been a couple years already, going into 3 years, and you keep meeting new people as you go along. You certainly get new students. So I'm sure it's been a wonderful process, and you've seen a lot of things here in the last couple of years. And COVID, of course, you came in during COVID.
It's been great. I love being in Martin County, working for the Martin County School District with the Martin County School Board, trying to attain the goals for all of our kids. It's a beautiful community. Martin County's great. I'm blessed to live here just outside of Stewart, so just happy to be. There's so many nice people. I mean, there's great people everywhere. You just have to find them, and I work closely with so many of our chambers and business development boards and you name it, all those ones that are focused to.
I can attest that Dr. Millay really has been a superintendent that gets out in the community, and you have wonderful outreach, and you always have an open door to folks. So
Absolutely.
I think that's super important with our education system in particular. So, talking about meeting new people, you're getting ready to meet a brand new crop of kindergartners. So let's talk a little bit about open
We're
enrollment.
real excited. Let all of our parents know that the Martin County School District is ready to welcome our future Ks, parents or caregivers of children who will be 5 years old on or before September 1st. So if you have a little one home, they're going to be 5 by the 1st. You can sign them up, and they are invited to visit their home zone school at 5:30 on February 2nd. So they can have the opportunity to tour the school, meet the administration, tour a kindergarten classroom. Might not be the one they're going to be in, but they'll meet some of the staff. They can learn information about the school meals, the transportation, and then extended day. They'll be able to put their name down to sign up because childcare is important. Where we have
parents that are working, they're working till 5, so
they can line that up. They'll have their name on our list, and we'll have them signed up for extended day, and we'll complete. They can start paperwork at that time. A form will go out soon. They can pick up the packets that have been out, but there's also going to be an online form that they can complete and get signed up for school, meet the staff a bit, and plan out so that they can take that whole child care piece off their mind.
What about parents that live in what should be one school? Let's say they live in, Bessie Creek Elementary, and they really want to go to Citrus Grove. Are parents at that age and stage able to apply to a different school?
There's always processes. So what they need to go is to the Martin County Schools on martinschools.org website, and there's a link right in the middle. You'll see things like school board, superintendent, and there's one called school choice, and all the details. Because you have to be real correct on how they do that. But yes, parents can attend schools outside their district if there's room. So there's capacities. We have to make sure there's so many seats left, and some of our schools are more full than others. So maybe there's going to be a lot of building going on. We have to make sure there's room to take care of those children too. So there's school choice at many of our schools if there's room. So there's processes on our website.
And I believe Tallahassee had changed it where it's open borders over the counties, but Martin County residents get first option. Is that right?
Yes, we give our students here, of course, always have first option. You'll have the right to attend the school in your school zone.
Perfect.
Well.
Perfect. And folks, this is really a big school district. As we talk with Dr. Millay, there's 1,198 teachers and 18,542 students with a budget of over $500 million. So this is really a big district that you need to run, and the total cost, I want to say, per pupil is $10,276. So
There's a great investment in the schools, facilities, the education, the salaries, benefits, everything that's centered around educating students. So we take it seriously. Our board's very prudent and careful with how they allocate those funds. And I want to thank the community. There's two things that passed several years ago. The sales tax that allowed us to build the two new schools. Jensen Beach just opened over Christmas. Fantastic. It's now we're in the process of the demolition of the old building, so that project will wrap up fully in the summer. But they're in their new building. They went there,
and then
the
students are so excited.
Oh, they are. It's exciting. So it's a totally different look.
Right.
If you're not familiar with what the building, if anybody's driven past like Hope Sound Elementary, Citrus Grove, that's basically the look of the new Jensen Beach Elementary and the Palm City. So Palm City, right after spring break in March. The schools are back to back. They're going to move into their new schools.
Wow, that is big news. That's a long time coming.
Sure.
Especially, I know that they've been talking about it a lot in Palm City and anxious for that new school.
Absolutely, and we have the Stewart Middle School. There's their new administration, library, and some classroom space going on that campus. South Fork, the fields are going in. Their new cooling system for the whole plant and the new gym. We're in our last phase of a permitting process with South Florida to build the new gym out there. So lots of things are going on, but that's a direct thank you to the taxpayers with the sales tax. And then on top of that, the millage that passed at that time was just reauthorized this year. So it passed. It was the highest passed referendum, and that goes for primarily recruiting and retention. And there's some other priorities that the board and has established that was on there, that it'll be safety and those types of things. So, but primarily recruitment and retention of teachers, and a huge piece, the Martin County School Board incorporates that as part of how the overall salary of teachers.
Well, you just had labor negotiations. Let's talk about that a little bit.
We sure did, and there's been a great investment by the state of Florida, the legislature and governor, to increase the funding for education. So based on that, this is subject to ratification, but we've signed off, we call T-aid. We've completed the contracts. The starting base annual salary for newly hired teacher will increase to $48,700, and it'll be the highest starting teacher salary on the Treasure Coast.
That's incredible, Dr. Millay. I mean, I remember just a few years ago that was down in the lower 30s. Mm-hmm. So that's incredible over the last few years. Everybody's been working to get a larger starting salary.
Sure.
What about those teachers that are tenured, that have been
here a while?
And
that's the part. Like, there's been a big infusion because you have to start somewhere. You can't just fix it. It's like your house. You can't do everything at once. But they've tried to increase the beginning to make teaching the profession more attractive to enter. It has caused some compression, so those maybe at the middle and up didn't get quite as much, but that's the portion that are negotiated through performance pay. The millage helps offset that, so there's a larger millage rate for teachers. If you're a younger teacher, younger as far as years experience, you get a smaller amount because you're kind of getting a higher amount from the state. And then, so it's negotiated, that millage amount with the board and the union. The teachers that have more experience, it helps offset that. They get up to $7,800, and then this coming one is like $10,050.
Oh, that's good news.
The new term. So there's mechanisms built in. So the money may not always come directly, like from the state, but there's options that, such as the millage, that the school board can decide to exercise, and it goes to the voters.
Okay.
And then they pass that. So a shout out to our school board and this generous community for value in education. And, there's always work to do, but we're grateful for where we're at and the strides, and we just need to keep working together.
So, and you offer, let's talk a little bit too about the teachers and retention, but there's also bringing in new teachers that have experience.
Sure.
You have hiring bonuses.
We sure do. And before we get into that, I just want to shout out, we just recently signed an MOU, and we wrapped this up for a $3,100 yearly bonus that goes out to all the teachers. If you're the Indiantown School, Indiantown Middle School, Warfield Elementary School, those teachers that are out there. It's called the Western Zone Supplement, but that was recently increased overall to $3,100 because it is further out in the county. There's always been that differential, and the board just proposed a major increase that was accepted by the union, and that's going in. So
targeted for the western area.
Targeting for the western zone because it's rural, and we want, it's there may not be some of the housing as much many housing options, and I know that community's growing. The local government's changing.
Right.
So maybe over time this will attract, and we want to make sure we can hire and retain qualified staff out there. So this limited time hiring bonus, that's really exciting. The Martin County School Board improved an instructional supplement that'll help alleviate some of the staffing shortages with some of our urgent hiring needs. So effective immediately, teachers hired to work at any of the Martin County District Title I schools, the comprehensive high schools, are eligible to earn a one-time bonus of $5,000, and eligible teachers must be hired or moving through the hiring process by March 6th. So the newly hired teachers must be hired at one of the following campuses to be eligible: David Anderson Middle School, Hope Sound Elementary, Indiantown Middle School, J.D. Parker, Murray Middle School, Pinewood Elementary, Port Salerno, Seawind, Warfield, Willoughby, Spectrum, and then, of course, our three high schools, Jensen Beach, Martin County High School, and South Fork High School. And the bonus isn't prorated. It's paid one time, paid out in addition to any other school board approved supplement. So if there's things they might get for coaching, or if they're at Indiantown and they're going to get the Western Zone supplement, they're also going to get this.
That's
so
huge.
it's we have several vacancies, and there's a shortage, and we're just trying right now. Most of those are covered by substitutes. I'm grateful we have them.
Right.
But we want that certified teacher that's going to be there for that long relationship to make the biggest impact. We have 3 or 4 months left of school. Well, say 4 months left of school: February, March, April, May. We're trying to make sure we can make the biggest impact as possible to get those classrooms covered full time. So if you know someone that's living here that's not teaching, or someone can have a family member that's somewhere else, we'd love to have them in the Martin County School District.
Always a need. And I know last time you were here, there was, employment needs across the entire area of the schools. I mean, it was bus drivers to mechanics, everybody. How is the employment now?
I appreciate you asking that. It's still very tough. And if you're out in the private sector, we still hear that. The Martin County School Board really stepped up and pushed the starting pay for bus drivers to $20 an hour starting, and that really made a big difference. They made some adjustments and priorities, which is hard to make. We like to make sure we hit everyone. So that's making a difference there. And then across the district, every job went to $15 an hour minimum starting salary. So that's helping as well to raise that initial minimum wage starting in the school district. So if it's cafeteria workers, maybe custodians that are being hired new, their salary got raised. So there are going to be compression. We're still working on that areas, but it's a big positive step forward.
Definitely a positive step. What about crossing guards? I know that was an issue, finding crossing guards, and Chief Deputy Budensieck will be in next, and he might be able to answer as well. But
well, shout out to the sheriffs, the Martin County Sheriff's Office, our sheriff, and then local police, whether it's Stewart or other agencies, for what they do for the district. I want to share that. We value the relationship with the Martin County Sheriff's Department. They've been just pivotal in us being safe. They provide the crossing guards. They've had highs and lows with having that. I know it's better than it was.
Right.
And those are getting covered. So, but I also know that if someone would like to be a crossing guard, I'll put that out there. If you want to work for the school district, be a crossing guard, you can call us, call the sheriff's office for that. And
always a need.
There's always a need.
Let's step back a moment. Talking about the VPK, grade 3, there's reading levels. That was a big issue this year. It was 51% of grade 3, the reading performance. What has the school district been doing over the past year to help improve that? And, what was the concerns? I know that, you talked about there's a lot of teachers that are in need. And there's also, I had a school board member in here last week, Amy Pritchett, and she had talked about there's a lot of English learning students that affects the reading scores. So just kind of want to get your
Sure.
input on
Well, first and foremost, for all our entire district and each of our schools, we want to be excellent. And when we're not excellent, we're improving. And all of our schools are different. For instance, when I mentioned Title I schools, that would be a school that has a higher poverty rate. That would mean those children would qualify, or those families, for free or reduced lunches, which just kind of lets you know there's some resource needs maybe to meet. So in those schools in particular, in some of our elementaries, middle and high as well, where we have a high level number of English as a second language type, we have a lot of new Hispanic families maybe that are moving in, and they don't speak the English language. And that's understandable, but we have to make sure that we're trying to meet their needs, and that's become more challenging because our numbers have increased.
It really impacts.
But we
that
want those
score.
families to know, and our community to know, that we're here to meet that. So, for instance, throughout the district, the school district, this is its second year, we put a comprehensive, research-based, scientifically proven program. We used the benchmark series that's from the Department of Education, and we not only bought it, of course, but we're using it with fidelity, and that was something we haven't had that consistency that we needed. So that was an area we needed to improve, consistency. So making sure everyone had what they needed at all, particularly say our elementaries, and they're using it. And we just did that in math. We use Savas math in our elementary. So the board made sure this adoption, K-12, that the teachers had the materials they need, and we're doing consistent adoption implementation. And that makes a big difference. So making sure that you have that strong core, and then that we really target, name and claim students that we know need that support and focus on them. Teachers work in small groups. We call them PLC, professional learning communities, where they look at their data. It's not just planning. It's looking how they do on their unit tests every 3 weeks to say, how can I improve? How can I help my students? So our teachers are focused. They're working hard. I shout out to all of our teachers that are doing the best they can.
Dr. Millay, and that seems really important. You just said every 3 weeks. That way the child doesn't fall too far behind. If you're just waiting for the midterm, you've wasted a lot of weeks waiting for that test.
Correct. This new state system, we test several different times a year, the beginning, middle, and toward the end. It's not in the past, we always did a huge comprehensive end of the year. Now we do 2 smaller assessments and then a more moderate at the end.
Makes sense.
It's just making sure all kids are growing.
That's right.
You want to make sure whether your child right now is performing at the highest level, you want them pushed, and if they're struggling, you want them to learn and grow.
And Dr. Millay, speaking of the numbers here in this school, I was a little surprised because Martin County is a rich county. It's one of the wealthiest counties in the state, not the wealthiest, but one of them. But the economically disadvantaged student population is 45.1%. 45.1%.
Yeah, it's interesting. And when I go out and I speak to different chambers and business groups, it's just so they'll know the reality. The Martin County School District does not have the same demographic, does not look like overall the county of Martin.
Right.
So if you looked at just demographics of our makeup, where the percentage, say, of Hispanic in our county, maybe like 14%, the percent Hispanic in our school is approaching 40%, so it's in the upper 30s. The percentage of just school-age children, of poverty in the entire county, it may be at 11%, countywide. But when you take the whole county, you take about in all the retired population, so many that don't have kids, the majority that live here do not have kids, versus the poverty rate in the school, which is nearly 50%. So that's evolved over the years, and that's something that you don't. When we talk about a good old day or back in the past, we have to deal with the reality of where we're at. People love Florida.
Yes.
Martin County is a fabulous place to live. We've always had a great reputation of our schools. And as our population changes, we're going to meet those needs. We're going to meet families where they're at. And we want the community to know if scores, it's like, they changed. Well, our population
there's a disparity
changes,
between
and we have to adapt.
Retirement population
different
and family.
strategies. So we're here to meet all kids' needs.
We had more things we want to touch on, but I definitely want to touch on one more item. We have just a couple minutes, and that is the graduation rate. It's been hovering above the statewide level. The statewide level is 87.3, but Martin County is 90.7%. So tell us a little bit more about what you're doing to even raise that more.
Sure. Throughout COVID, there were certain measures, and we had improved our graduation rate. There were also measures that the state had given some different graces to schools. When kids, when we shut down back in that March, and didn't go back till
Right.
that's fall. There was kids. It's like they were about to pass, or some of them were teetering, weren't going to. The state was able to give them certain allowances, which bumped up our graduation rate at that time. Well, now it's settling out. So our current rate is 90.7. It is above the state, about 3 points there, I guess. And we're proud of the progress we're making, but, I'm not satisfied at all. When we have just under 10% that aren't meeting that benchmark, we're trying to make sure we make high school the most meaningful, that senior year, junior, senior year,
Right.
particularly meaningful. We get kids on pathways, whether it's CTE pathways, that's something practical, where if they leave with that diploma, they can also leave with a certification in their back pocket. We have to make
Huge.
sure that we're meeting kids and getting them through school, and then hopefully getting them some type of, in the workforce, some type of post-secondary, whether it's a 4-year college, a 2-year technical trade. Shout out to IRSC. They have the new
Vocational,
Bright
yes.
Bright Futures, and where the kids can go and for free basically their first year. And I encourage people to
With
visit
Bright
their
Future,
website.
yes. I'm going to have Dr. Anzalone on in a few weeks. We're going to talk a little bit more about that again. It's
Yes.
an exciting program that they have. But Dr. Millay, again, we're speaking with Dr. John Millay. He's the superintendent of Martin County School District. Definitely have to have you back and need to have you here for the full hour because there's so much to talk about. But this has been a wonderful update. Would like to have you back probably in March or so, and we'll talk about the
Absolutely.
legislation going through Tallahassee.
Sure.
Because there's always something that affects the local schools.
Lots of things going on, and there'll be some interesting things play out, and we'll adapt to whatever changes are made.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Dr. Millay. We'll see you back here. Appreciate the update today. And next, we're going to have Chief Deputy John Budenseek in the seat.